Hi, Ed.
Hi, Father.
You're out here working away in the olive garden.
I am. I do this quite occasionally these days, but I love it. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and I'm as I see you here, I'm thinking you're the person who really holds the history of this olive grove a lot in your own experience and your own memory. What can you tell us a little bit about it? How this, maybe what this looked like, years ago, and what's happened to kind of build it up with the stations?
Well, years ago, this was a baseball field for the seminary. Oh. Home plate was right in here, backstop over there, and this was a baseball field. And but back in the actual stations were built about 1960-64 by Father Nevin Ford. All the mosaics came from Italy and got damaged, and so he spent 3 years separating the pieces by color with the seminarians doing it as a penalty, you might say. And then he turned them all into the stations across on the seminary property.
Sure.
But then they sold the seminary, and he got a group of parishioners led by Bob Kuhn and Peter Cruz and Grant Castleberg, and a group of other parishioners raised the money to actually move them over here and then install them.
Right.
And it took about 4 years to do that. But then got them over here and then didn't know what to do with them once they were here. And so I started in about 2007. We started raising funds to actually build this park.
Wow.
And the mission, in its wisdom, let us do it bit by bit. We had a landscape architect, Grant Castleberg, design it. And we showed what we wanted to do to the executive committee of the mission.
Sure.
And they let us do a little bit at a time. And they were worried about safety.
Sure.
And then we raised over $100,000 to build the gate and build the paths. And Sherry and Matt Fay donated every plant you see here, except for the bougainvillea, but all the other little plants around the stations. And at certain times of the year, it's just glorious. And the peace and quiet is.
It is quiet, and it to me, it's a sign of many gifts coming together to create something beautiful. Yeah. And that took time, as you said.
About 150 parishioners were involved in raising the funds to do it, that was a great for the parishioners and the friends of the old mission. Mm-hmm. It was just a great group effort to get it done. Yeah. And now I just work on it when I can. I'm working on all the paths now after 14 years. They've got covered with dirt, and so I'm just uncovering them, and one rock at a time.
I love that. What a great metaphor for clearing a path in the parish, because you've also been involved in parish leadership for many years and kind of strategically thinking about, what needs to be cleared away, what new paths do we take, and all of that.
Yeah, my first term on the pastoral council was back in the 80s when I was president under Father Virgil, and then once again, Father Larry talked me into joining the pastoral council once again. Then he left town. That was nice of him. And so I was pastoral chair for a couple of years under your leadership, actually. Uh-huh. And then, I think the major thing we did back in the 80s was figure out how to put some speakers in the main church. And that was the biggest topic of the year.
Right.
But now, the last 4 years has been, what's our plan for the future? Mm-hmm. Which we had a great 3-year plan. But the virus shot that plan to bits, and we still do a lot of the things on that plan, but some we just haven't been able to accomplish. And now, under your leadership, we now have 3 new goals, right. Mainly on family ministry, liturgy, communication, and community building.
Right.
And so we're going to refocus the pastoral plan on those 3 areas over the next year and a half, and hopefully get this behind us and accomplish a lot of good things.
And I think, again, bringing in that wider circle of people to really become active as they did in this beautiful garden. It's so great to see this garden, and really, it's what we hope for the whole parish, to become a place where people can find peace and also be renewed.
Right now, somebody just mentioned the other day that this is just a piece of love in this. And the visitors that come here now are really impressed and encouraged by the piece. We've had, in the last year, even with all the trouble, the mission hasn't been open,
Yeah.
and so all the visitors end up down here.
Right.
We've seen more visitors down here than we saw in the previous 10 years.
Isn't that remarkable?
And they all comment on it, and especially this during Lent. Every year in the past, we've used this as the Stations of the Cross on Good Friday.
Sure.
This year, for the first time, it's being used every Friday, both by our parish at 5:30, but also Our Lady of Sorrows parish is using it at 2 o'clock. And so we have way more people using it, which is what that's what it's meant for.
Exactly.
That's why it's here, and people have never seen it before. People in Santa Barbara, and when they see it, they're amazed. I mean, you just can't believe it's here. And so we have people who come here every day just to meditate.
Yeah.
You'll see them on the benches, and the trees were all donated by Craig McCullough and Cindy, and
Sure.
Grant Castleberg did the design, and the plants were donated by Matt Fay and Sherry. I mean, it's just been a labor of love from a lot of people.
Well, and now, as you say, it's creating a place for people who've never discovered it before in this pandemic, kind of a sort of a blessing, silver lining of the thing. And, but it does require ongoing upkeep too, right? So you're out here, do you need other volunteers to be here?
Anybody that can join us. We put out a call to weed around the trees not too long ago, and you had about 10 families show up. During the summer, and used it as a Saturday effort. Brought their kids, pulled weeds, cleaned, raked. I mean, it was a good effort by a lot of people. And now we still need them to do about the same things. And anybody who wants to volunteer, more than happy to have them. That's for sure.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for what you've done, and thanks to all of you who are listening, and some of you who might be willing to volunteer.
Yes, anytime.
Come on out.
Anytime, you're more than welcome. And we just love it, Father. It's great.
Well, to all of you on this Lenten journey, as we embrace the cross with Christ through so many challenges, may the Lord give you peace.